So, Maria, how are you? Pleasure to meet you.
Hi, Greg. I'm so excited. I'm living a surreal moment of my life. I'm levitating. I'm sorry, I'm a little extra, but that's exactly how I'm feeling.
I love extra because I'm not extra. And I love extra people. I loved your extra character in Off the Grid. Can you just talk about putting maybe a little bit of yourself into this character or maybe not? Were they two different people?
Oh, absolutely, especially because of how it ended up becoming Latina. It was like a last minute thing. She was at first, it's so funny because Greg's character talks about, oh, why didn't he get lost in Italy or Spain? Or like, why did we end up here in Mississippi? And it was true. And I'm not complaining about Mississippi. I thought it was a super cute little soulful town. But it was initially going to be shot in Italy. So my character was Italian, which is not that far from the Latino vibe. Then she was Spanish, but I get obsessed about every single version of the character because it's the fact that it's a similar Spanish and Italians are Europeans. We're not the same type of people. So I want to do like research and everything changed about this character throughout a year that it took for the movie to actually be shot because it started during the strike. But then when the strike was over, that kind of acted against us because we had the interim agreement, but then all the other projects went ahead to be number one for the actors that had those waiting chronologically. And Josh had a project that we had to wait for actually a long time, like 6 months. Thank God I had another thing that I did in Colombia. But then everything started to change. And I actually felt a little concerned that maybe I was going to be replaced, like many of them were. And towards the end, when they decided they were going to go back to the States and shoot in Mississippi, my character was no longer fitting with what they required. And it was Johnny Martin who defended me, who stood by me, who really wanted this movie to be done with me to the point of changing her to become like a Latina that's in Mississippi because you name it, undocumented, escaping from some sort of reality. And all these details I had to make up the day that I started shooting because I had done like 20 lessons of like Southern accent and I was ready to do that. And I also prepared a Southern character, which was so much farther like from my reality. But I love that. I love getting out of my comfort zone, even though the accent was cutting my wings in the sense of I was just so concerned about nailing the accent that I was losing the essence. And when I got there, and I was so nervous about that part, and I told Josh, who was the biggest sweetheart from the beginning, and I was like, I'm Latina. Excuse me in advance for my weird accent. And he's like, why are you not playing a Latina then? And I'm like, because I'm the local girl that you run into when you're off the grid in Mississippi. Relax. I already did a lot of classes. I already invested a lot of energy. He's like, so the moment I started my first scene, Johnny was like, okay, so we're doing this and that. I have no time. I'm losing my lights. Here you go. Five, four. Oh, wait. And by the way, you're no longer Southern. Now you're Latina. Three, two, one. And I had to show myself my capacity to deconfigure and reconfigure within seconds, like on the spot. And that can only experience can show you that. So this was to me like, remember this movie Slumdog Millionaire, when this little kid, like this humble kid, finds the answer to every part of the game because of his life experiences? This felt like that because not only did I have to go to reconfiguring a character and kind of creating a new backstory on the spot, but also he made me improvise. Oh, now you're Latina? Now you have three blocks that you didn't have before on this scene to tell the audience and tell the character that you're with why you're a Latina that's in Mississippi. Oh, now you improvise in Spanish because when people get angry, they speak in their language. So now you're going to tell him something in Spanish that's 15 seconds. Three, two, one. So it started becoming the biggest challenge for me in terms of improvising, which I rarely get the chance to do that in my Latino projects. I'm given creative freedom, but not to this point. So imagine my first movie where I the most like tense and I have the most pressure because it's like one of the most important projects of my life, if not the most. And this is the project that I get the most like freedom. That felt like a huge responsibility, but also a beautiful challenge that just made me a bigger professional. And yeah, it just made everything so much more magical.
Speaking of magical, what's the key for you as an actor staying in the moment no matter what project you do? Because I'm looking at your IMDb and your projects are so diverse. But what have you learned about staying in the moment, being yourself, and also being another character? Is there a key for people who do not know how to do it?
To me, I find I have tiny tools and tiny techniques, I always use the music. I had a playlist for my character that I had to switch constantly because of how she changed. But I go to music a lot because I feel like every time I try to meditate, I try to tap into that feeling that usually took me like 30 minutes to become, like to stay present. But now I have an easier access to it because of practice. So I try to get into this kind of meditation state of mind, and then I plug in music that connects me with the character and their emotions, because I can't really go to like memory, like emotional memory, because I am a lucky girl with my parents alive. They love each other. I'm an only child. I don't have traumatic memories. Thank God. It's a great thing. It's just not a tool that I have for like my Stanislavski work. A method. So in order to connect to the character's feelings, I really have to be there for them. So I pluck myself out of it and I take my ego out through a tiny exercise, like meditation exercise. And then when I'm present, I get into their world through music. That's sometimes I have very little time this time because it's film, and that's why I'm going to pursue this forever, no matter how much no's I have to say, because the thing about telenovelas, and I love, it's a part of me, but what I don't like, and I have to be honest about it, is shooting 30 scenes per day because it's so hard to connect. Here we had 3 scenes per day, 4 at most. So we had the same crazy 12-hour days, but we had the option to give them different choices. And then I felt at peace, because when you know you have time to do that, then you plug out, you plug in, but then you know you can play. And sometimes when you have that peace of mind and that understanding, that mindset that you can play, that's where the real magic happens. Some people work good under pressure and they're like, oh, I love having this as my only choice because then I'm gonna, not me.
I,
That's why I love auditioning with self tapes, because I spend 3 hours if I have to until I feel like something happened in the atmosphere. And here I had the chance to do that with Josie, thank God.
and very quickly, I know you have to wrap very quickly. Just you have so many people who are following you on your artistic journey. What's it like? You're talking about connecting. What's it like to have that kind of support from your fans, but also you want to actually have time for yourself as well? You said you're extra at the beginning. Is it hard to actually have just time for yourself and to connect with yourself, but then also appreciate all the fans you have and people who are supporting you? And thanks for your time.
It is hard, but I have really, like, my whole life and my whole day runs around trying to find that balance, because now that we have all these outlets, all these platforms, and the opportunity to connect with fans, and I'm not that good at it, but I've done my lives. I try to stay super connected with social media, but not connected enough that I'm not in my present moment. Right now, I'm in Brazil enjoying myself, doing other types of work. And I also love being present. I love my parents. I just did a trip with them to Alaska. So it's this thing about, first of all, working in what I love and appreciating it, being super present, but then using the money for the right purpose, which is in my case, traveling, eating. So I do that also to disconnect from characters and be ready to reconnect. Because if I don't expose myself to traveling, to novelty, to art, I'm not going to be able to do that, but also to fans. So when I have free time or I'm in between projects, I really try to connect with them. I've been learning kind of what type of content they like from me. I love sharing my life with them because I owe myself to them. Now that I got into video games through Call of Duty, I have this character that became so loved in the gaming community. My followers went out like by double. So now I have more of a responsibility. So I opened TikTok, which I didn't have before. I'm doing a lot of funny kind of like content for gaming. So I incorporated that as part of my job. So now I'm in like a double schedule, but I actually enjoy it because I'm getting so much love. I rarely get like any hate, Greg. It's crazy because it's also a complicated window to open. And I've got anything, like all I've gotten is love. So how can I not honor that? So I try to keep everything balanced. But yes, sometimes it's hard to find time for myself, just to be alone. I'm an only child. I also need time to dance in an empty room. So I try to make it work.
Okay. Maria, thank you so much for your time and great job on Off the Grid. Looking forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you so much, Greg. Thanks for supporting, and thank you for helping amplify the message.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. For more movie and television reviews and interviews, please subscribe to my Deepest Dream channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, thanks so much for your support. Take care. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. For more movie and television reviews